So, I'm always being asked how we get through these big spring harvests and probably the summer harvests and the autumn harvests and the winter harvest too, um, and what I eat. And so it's always a tricky question for me to answer because I eat in a really weird way. And I don't think anybody else is going to eat the way that I do, so I don't think it's going to provide very much inspiration. And Debbie is like the master of the seasonal recipe, um, and and we entertain a lot. So she's always making, like different recipes. Like every single day, basically, is a sort of different recipe. So and she draws from 30 odd different cookbooks and all that, and it's hard to sort of duplicate the way basically that she eats as well. But since everybody keeps asking, I thought, well, I will just go through the way that I eat, um, crazy though it is. But it suits me, and it suits me because I'm a hyper taster, so one of these people for which food tastes, everything tastes great, basically. Like, everything's got extreme level of flavour for me, which does actually mean that I can't have very many spices and herbs and things like that because they just overwhelm me. So I eat kind of very simply, but I don't get tired of the same things again and again at all. I don't have any kind of need for variety because everything always tastes so great. Anyway, so how do I eat? So I start off the day with some organic protein powder. I'm very active, as you probably know if you watch my channel, and so I really need a bit more protein than I can just get through my ordinary diet. Otherwise, I'd just be eating too much meat and too many calories. So yeah, I just start off with, as I say, shake up a scoop of protein powder, and just sort of get on with my day. And my day normally sort of starts off with a bit of a walk, maybe go to the gym. I don't really like the gym very much, so when I say go to the gym, basically what I mean is I walk past the gym on my way to a coffee shop, and I pop in for sort of 10 or 15 minutes or something like that. So very short and sweet, my visits to the gym. Unless it's like pouring down with rain or something like that, I might stay a bit longer. Anyway, I'll arrive at my coffee shop, and really the coffee shop's pretty important to me because that's where I do most of my work. So that's where I write my ebook, that's where I write my newsletter, that's where I do my garden planning. All my garden organising basically gets done sitting in Caffè Nero in the window seat. And I normally just have a brownie. And so I'm a bit 80-20 as a person, in that I try to sort of comply with good eating habits about 80% of the time, and about 20% of the time I just eat what I like. I find it works for me. That just keeps me in balance. I don't like depriving myself of things. In fact, I don't really deprive myself of things. So, if I want a treat, then I'll have a treat. But I try just sort of stick to that 80-20 rule. And in gardening, I do the 20% of things that give me the 80% of benefit. So I'm sort of a lazy gardener like that. But again, it works for me. So I sort of live by this 80-20 sort of ratio. So I have a brownie and a Diet Coke. And I really love the Diet Coke. I've always loved Diet Coke. I love the flavour of it. I love the sort of refreshing nature of it. And I love it with a lot of ice. Even in the middle of winter when it's really cold, I'll have a whole glass full of ice. And yeah, that's my thing. And it lasts me, sit there for about 90 minutes. And that is kind of my breakfast, right? So it's not great, is it? It's not a great start to the day, food-wise. Snacks. So my favourite snacks are dried fruit. We dry a lot of apples and we dry a lot of pears, and so they're my sort of go-to snack: dried apples and dried pears. I've got them on the allotment, I've got them in my bag, I've got them in the utility, and I add them to my proper breakfast, which is granola. It's my own recipe for granola, and it's online. I'll put a link to it down in the description below, but I really love it. originally actually started eating granola back when my mum ran a Whole Foods stall, and she used to buy Suma Nutty Crunch granola. And then Suma folded or went out of business, so I can't remember what happened to them. But anyway, I couldn't get this Nutty Crunch granola. I've been eating it for 20 years. But I did manage to find a picture on the web of the ingredients label for it. And so, then this was years later. And so I basically duplicated that recipe for the granola base. So the oats, and the malt extract and the molasses and the coconut oil and the butter base, basically, that I use for the granola. And I have about 50% of that, and I have 50% of nuts, and I have pistachios, not hazelnuts, almonds, macadamia nuts, walnuts, and the one that's got lots of selenium in them. What are they called? I can't remember. Anyway, I'll put it up on the overlay. So that's my proper breakfast, and I have that with milk. I don't like the milk on the granola because I really like the crunchiness of the dry granola mix. Oh, and I had a dried pear to that, half a dried pear. So I like to have my milk in a glass and the granola dry. And I add dark chocolate nibs to that mix as well. And banana chips. I should have prepared for this, shouldn't I, really? So that's my granola. I love that. I've had that for my breakfast since I was about 20. Probably 20. With a bit of a gap in between, maybe about 10 years in between when I didn't have it, in between Suma folding and me discovering the label on the web. So that's breakfast. So for lunch, have a big salad, and it's a really big salad. And I try for somewhere in the region of 12 different ingredients to that salad, and most of those are homegrown. In fact, most of them are in this greenhouse right now. Lots of lettuce, lots of beet leaves, lots of chard, lots of spinach. At the moment, lots of claytonia and salad rocket, radishes, all that. So loads and loads of lovely salad ingredients, and that varies obviously quite considerably over the year. And to that, I add, well, right now I'm adding tomatoes from the supermarket, but obviously pretty soon I've got my tomatoes here. I'll be adding tomatoes from the greenhouse and cucumbers, and peas. The peas are there. They're coming on quite nicely. So not long before I'll be adding peas to that. But basically all the sort of fresh ingredients that I can get my hands on, I will add to that. And then I normally chop a pear up, very partial to Williams pears from M&S. And that's pretty much it for my salad. I don't add a dressing. And the reason I don't add a dressing is because I'm often eating my salad when I'm out and about. So I'm often out hiking or cycling or something like that, or on the allotment. And I often take my salad with me. Sometimes eat it here, though, in the conservatory. But anyway, I eat it with my fingers, and so I don't have a dressing. I don't really like dressings anyway, as I said, because I'm a bit of this hyper taster. Everything tastes really nice without dressings, and I just would get my fingers all messed up, and dressing would be too strong for me. So sometimes I add a little stick of cheese to that. And right now I'm adding nectarines to that mix instead of pears, because the pears aren't very good. And I'll obviously add all sorts of different things, grapes, and strawberries and things, whatever I want, basically blueberries or whatever, to that mix through the year. In summer, obviously, I'll be having fresh fruit for snacks. We grow a lot of blueberries and raspberries and cherries and grapes and apples and pears and loads of things. Anyway, strawberries in the kitchen garden. So I sort of add bits of those and eat those as snacks. And I really like peas as snacks as well. So I'll often be eating my peas on the allotment as a snack or in the kitchen garden. So for my evening meal, I have one portion of meat, and I normally have every other meal I'll have chicken, and we either get organic chicken or ethically reared chicken. So the ethically reared bit is the bit that's really important to me. The organic is less important to me, so I try for ethically reared everything that I eat, and organic when I can get my hands on it. It's quite difficult to get organic meat at anything like a cost-effective price. Anyway, so it's either chicken or it's beef, and sometimes it's a beef in a burger, sometimes it's steak, occasionally it's lamb, but anyway, I'm very keen on the whole ethically reared stuff, eggs and meat and milk and all that sort of thing. All the milk's organic, all the cheese and everything. So that's the meat, and then that's a small portion, a quarter of the plate, and then the other 3/4 of the plate is veg. And again, I'm just trying for 10 different types of veggies. So I'll have sort of garlic, elephant garlic, onions, yacon, 3 or 4 different types of leaves, beetroot, carrots, applesauce, that sort of thing, and gravy, and sometimes with Yorkshire puddings. So that is about as traditional sort of, UK dinner, English dinner as you can probably get. But I generally have that dinner probably about 5 days a week, something like that. And then for my supper, I'm one of those people who has a supper. I'll have a fruit salad, and again I have probably 6-ish different berries in that. Probably depends on the time of year again, but right now I'm having raspberries, blueberries, cherries, strawberries, grapes, banana, half a banana or a third of a banana, depends how big it is. So 6, maybe 7, I can't remember whether there's a 7th in there, but anyway, quite a few different berries, and obviously I'll try and get a lot more of those in summer, and they'll be all homegrown because right now they're all from the supermarket, because I don't really like frozen anything basically. That is kind of what I eat like 80% of the time. So if I have bread, I'll have freshly baked ciabatta with butter and cheese spread. I still like dairy cheese spread. That's one of the few processed things I eat. And if I'm out hiking, then we'll have a bacon barm. That's a bacon roll. And sometimes if I have a Caffè Nero nearby and I go to a Costa, I'll have a tiffin or something like that. So I do have sweets occasionally, like treats occasionally. And if it's a birthday party like it was yesterday, then I'll probably have a bit of cake or something like that as well. So that's it. Things I don't eat potatoes, although I'm trying to eat the purple ones. We've got a lot of purple ones growing at the moment. And not just because I don't really like them. And I don't like them in any form apart from crisps, but I don't really eat crisps very often. And I don't like sort of sweet vegetables very much. So I don't like winter squash. like Crown Prince and things like that. Debbie absolutely loves it, and all the rest of the family love it, but I don't really like it. I don't really like parsnips, but I'll eat parsnips, but I don't really like them. Something about the sugar that's in them, I don't really like that type of sugar. I don't know what it is that makes it that I don't like it, but anyway, I don't like it. Anyway, so that's it. That is sort of pretty much what I eat. And in terms of sort of like nutrients and all of that sort of thing, I'm eating mainly unprocessed. Probably about 90% of what I eat is unprocessed or minimally processed. I say with about 10%, exceptions, just to make life interesting. And I'm having about 9 to 10 portions of fruit and veg a day, because although I think I'm having about 40 different things a week, different types of fruit and veg a week, or varieties of fruit and veg a week. But I wouldn't sort of class like all the different lettuces, I'd just class those as one different thing. But if I was classing sort of chard and beetroot leaves or something like that, I might class that as two. So 40 different things anyway a week, and about 30 different things a day. And that includes nuts and seeds. I forgot the seeds in the granola mix. And I used Chronometer because I had a lot of health problems just before, for the sort of 20 years running up to when I started gardening. And I had this bad autoimmune condition. I was really ill. So I started tracking the nutrients that I ate, and I've carried on doing that, and I used Chronometer. And I'll just sort of show you my Chronometer sort of scores for the nutrients. And I don't actively kind of manage that very much. It's just what it is, basically. And one other really important thing that I do, it may not really be important, but it feels like it's important to me, because so much of what I eat comes off the allotment or this garden, and we grow on pretty poor sandy soil. I do two things to kind of mitigate the risk of that, because obviously if there's any nutrient deficiencies in that soil, that could make its way into a nutrient deficiency in the food that I eat. And there's been a few cases of people suffering quite badly when they're just eating from such a small patch of ground, basically. And it is a pretty small patch of ground, like 200 square metres, all in the same locality, all sand. So the first thing is I add a lot of nutrients to the soil. So, there's a lot of seaweed, a lot of rock dust, a lot of horse manure, a lot of farmyard manure, a lot of mushroom compost, and bloodfish and bone meal over the years. So lots of nutrients basically have gone into that soil. So that's going to help. And the second thing is I just have a scoop of athletic greens, the greens powder that's on all the podcasts and things, YouTube channels and things. But I've had that for, I don't know, it's probably 20 years or something like that, probably before anybody even heard of it. I've been having it. And because I associate that with my recovery from this autoimmune disease, I don't take a risk of stopping it, because there's no way I'm going back to those days. And so I just won't take a risk, basically, of stopping it, even though right now I probably am getting all the nutrients that I need. I mean, they actually use it in the advertising blurb. It's a bit of an insurance policy, and that's the way I treat it. It's an insurance policy. So that's it. That took a long time, didn't it? So anyway, that's for such a simple diet. I still can waffle on about things. I'll see you soon.